All right, welcome to Friday, October 27th. This is a market review. I'll probably also do a weekly recap and then a next week's plan. I'll probably just do that right after this video, but I am working from home. I was a little sick today. I still traded, but I wasn't, probably slept half the day. So I missed a lot of the afternoon moves, but I got what I needed in the morning. Today was perfect when it came to how the market played within the rules. Well, I say rules. You have your own rules, or the rules that sort of you've been hearing me, but it's been playing within the realms of the time frames and what something should do and what you should be looking for if it ends up doing something that it didn't do. So I'll go into an example, and then what I'll end up doing too is at the end of this video, I'll do a quick just run through a replay of all the bars, so you can see like how choppy and volatile it was, but how you have to really sit on your hands and trust in those pivots, and just get in good entries and hold, and you either get stopped out or you're in the money by a lot. So all right, so let's talk about this morning. So yesterday I posted the fact that on a 30-minute you can see right here this was morning and this was afternoon. You had a higher low. So yeah, a higher low, but then you also had a higher high. So what that tells me is there's some kind of consolidation going on. There wasn't a lot of strong buyers or a lot of strong sellers. It on smaller time frames, it helps. On bigger time frames, you can see like the beginning of this week how these patterns really do give you a sense of directions. On when I say the smaller time frames, when you have small patterns, it's a hit or miss. Technically, it did what it was supposed to do. Meaning, these 30 minutes, you see that we opened up above, and then we just chopped around from the bull, not the bull. This was the mid-range pivot, and that line. And you can see on the left, you see how this was the first 30 minutes, second 30 minutes, third 30 minutes. First hour and a half. And this was a faker. This faked me out a little bit. I was thinking, all right, we broke back into it. We could flush and come down here. But what it ended up doing, you always have to remember, bigger time frames, it does suck, to wait, but you have to wait until the candle closes, because look what ended up happening. We ended up dropping down, and then the candle actually closed back above that mid-range ATR for the multi-day. And then same thing here. So you had this consolidation, breakdown, and now reverse. So the fact that it broke above this area right here sort of launched it at the 10 o'clock. So, in reality, again, you see, it didn't come right down to the bull pivot. This is one of those scenarios that's it's tough. It's tough. It's like, well, it's support until proven otherwise. So, you should wait till it comes down here to be as safe as possible. But if you're able to afford to have multiple contracts, this is when you start either selling your position and then either start switching, and then if it ends up coming down, a lot of times what I'll do is then average up, and then if I get stopped out, I get stopped out. But at least I'm building a position down here for reversal. This was a tough day, tough move, because you really, honestly, you didn't know what was going to go on. The fact that we were struggling right here, and then this were 50-point moves like 10 times. This was extremely quick and volatile. Let's see if we look at the here we go. This was the morning action. Let's look. Look at that. So you have that's the 9:30 candle. Here is here's your opening. So we chopped a lot that first half hour, and then once that hour came, See right here, this is 9 o'clock Central Time. It just got nutty. So you ended up, these were really fast. This is, you can see this was in about 5-10 minutes. Jumped up and then came down. It found support because this was support for a long time, and then came all the way back up, and then it hit to the T. And what do? You short, and boom, came all the way back down. So there was a lot of points here. These were a lot of points, but eventually you see that new hour, the new hour opened up, and new TPO of 30 minutes. So you consolidated, you came up, and then just crashed. I got in right here, and I was aiming for right here because this was breaking support of the new TPO, and caught this. But you see, it started losing exhaustion, and then came up, and then you had a double bottom, and then when it came back up over, and then tested it, it found its support for that move, and then ended up doing this, consolidating a bunch. This was VWAP, and then finally made it here. And then 10 o'clock, which is right here. Yeah, so still consolidating. Between 10 and 10:30, this new TPO is when it actually shot up. But remember the rules. If you do not hold this area after 10 o'clock, not 10:30. So you see this right here. This was the 10:30 candle, right at 10:30. What did it do? It just, these are 5-minute candles with 30-minute overlay. It dropped. It held. It closed. That 5-minute candle closed. So if I was not looking at any of all of this, this is not good. You should not have a solid candle break back below a resistance, which now it was supposed to be support. Now it's resistance. The reason why is, again, if you start looking at the 30 minutes, you see how at the end of the 12:30 period, it ended up closing underneath this 4-hour candle. I know this sounds like it seems like a lot. You got a 4-hour candle, a 30-minute candle, and a 5-minute candle you're looking at. This stuff's not happening like in a minute. So what you constantly be doing is you need to be telling yourself a story of, okay, like we're getting close to 10:30, or we're getting close to noon. Have we done this? And start visualizing what could happen. To me, once we started breaking down below here, I'm like, well, look at this. This it's 11:30. You're breaking below this pivot on a multi-day, and that's closing. So you have 12 o'clock. You're opening underneath this. That means it needs to recover really quickly, or that is now resistance for the rest of the afternoon, going into your 12:30. Because once 12:30 hit, you see how that 4-hour candle closed below here, and then basically from 12:30 to the rest of the afternoon, we just basically consolidated in this range. It was like what ended up happening on Wednesday. You see how we dropped, and then that next 4-hour, the next afternoon period, we basically chopped within a short range. So that's that is the difficult part sometimes when it comes to that last part of the day. It can be volatile or not. It's the same thing in the beginning of time of the day. You see how the beginning you had this like tight range, and then that's why I always recommend, like, if you're able to miss the first half hour, sometimes you'll miss some of those big moves, but man, it just makes it so much easier to get a read of what the market's doing. Like, to me, this is just telling me this is weak. Like, yes, it consolidated underneath here, but if it was strong, it would have consolidated up here and then came up. So I wasn't really convinced that this move, even though it was holding above this, I wasn't convinced, because also if you look at your 30-minute, this was your 4-hour candle. This right here was what I was looking at. It was super critical for all day, was the close of that candle. So 420 area. And if you notice, we came pretty darn close to it. See how we were, I mean, heck, you can almost use the previous day pivot as a guide, because you see, if you turn on the multi-day or the fibs, the fib was right here at 420. That's where it was as well too. So, But who cares? Like this, if you were long, this is where you push, and then really you sell into here, and then this is either all gravy on runners. But the key is waiting for that 10:30 candle to tell you what it wants to do. When this happens, it's telling me this is weak. So I mean, now granted, this could have kept on drop, but you just need to have on your radar for the rest of the period that this might be the high. So if you see that we basically were shooting up and then closing the 5 minute underneath, shooting up, closing the 5 minute underneath, dropped down to VWAP, came back up, consolidated for basically an hour or two, and then eventually it started, it's dropped down. So now let's get into the afternoon. So the afternoon ended up showing that. So when this is now resistance and it's proven itself, I mean, that's why having one contract and giving it enough room, when I say enough room, like 20 points, can pay off because it ended up, would have netted you about 2,000 or so, which is one contract. So it's 100 points all right here. You can see that at 11:30 it started to move. This was lower high, and it just was not struggling, to get back above. So you should start be adding your position and expecting that 12 or 12:30, move. And so what ended up happening is 12 hit, and then immediately, this was 11:30. The 12 o'clock candle hit, and it dropped, and then 12:30. That was the start of the end of the afternoon, or the beginning of the afternoon, and you can see we ended up consolidating that entire time. Oh, looks like the last 10 minutes we found support again and shot up. But anyways, that is, so now you ask the question, well, what happened to that pattern? Well, it's fluid. Like, so technically that is also why that line right here was super important for me, because anytime you break back below, then that's now resistance. So it was resistance, and miraculously you see that it was also that pivot, the bull pivot, but we weren't getting any kind of momentum. You got to also understand it was Friday. Today's Friday. The weak candle, you can see. So if this was the week, imagine this dropping down, and then now what the week's candle is going to show is it's going to show this wick right here. There's going to be a little wick, on that big candle that dropped. So next week anything can happen. I'll show you on the weekly video of what could happen. Building yourself a plan. But anyways, I'll wrap this up. Let's go ahead, and even if you didn't have any of this TA stuff on here and you're just playing the chart, I mean, look at that. You had a basically mid-range play. So mid-range, drop from mid-range down to almost the previous day's close right here. Once you start seeing that there's support drawn, then you just have to respect it. Don't try to eke out as much as you can out of a play, because a lot of times you have these zones that you have to play in. So let's take a look real quick on a replay. So if you're playing this morning, I'm just going to go through this quick. Look how craziness happens. So these candles are going up and down, up and down, up and down, and up. So if you're in the middle or chasing, you're getting destroyed, So you always want to be entering as close as you can to a pivot. Same thing down below. Support until proven otherwise, and then that's where you're going to get your best range. And when you see a lot of wicks like this, you want to be selling pretty quick. There's no clear direction. For me, the rest of the afternoon, if this was the hold, I absolutely would have got in with one contract, put a stop, and then just let it ride for the rest of the day. And that would have been 100 points right there. Another nice move. But, the moment you get stopped out, you just respect it and you just walk away, or you wait for it to reveal itself later on with other 30-minute candles. So See how we drop, drop, drop. Now we're making lower highs, and so it's just the trend is still down. Don't try to catch a falling knife. It needs time to. That's it. It needs time to consolidate. It just made a massive move. So a lot of times it's going to find, and look, you're down near support, at least the -1 ATR. So it's gonna find its footing. But this is where, if you start thinking of zones, we have been playing within yesterday's morning candle. So imagine if you just drew lines like this, you were playing in between here. So this is what your consolidation pattern looks like. It can be great when you can catch the right range, but you always need to be clearing certain candles to and until proven otherwise as well. So if you also look at a multi-day, it's actually pretty sweet that this fib and this fib was pretty much the range for the day. It played off of them pretty well. So again, this was not an easy day. I will 100% tell you it's not an easy day. But if you got in, and you have to remember, after multiple, usually what I used to learn is, after there's the rule of 3. Sometimes it's 3 days. To me, it just depends on how big a move. But you see, you have 1 day, 2 days, and then the third day. Usually there's some kind of either reversal, or you have 1, 2, and then that third day it either drops down and then comes back up. So you had 2 symmetrical volatility days. So usually you'll have some kind of consolidation. You need to be thinking about that. If you're constantly jumping in and thinking it's going to be the same move every day, then you're going to get whacked. So, all right, well, and I'll see you in the weekly review if you end up joining me for that session.